Yo, welcome back to the Biased But Not Biased F1 podcast. It's your boy T.
Tell you we're not biased though, but
I'm a little bit biased. I'm gonna be real. But what do we got going on? We got the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. Come on, can we just call it Imola and just get it done with? I think that's a lot more simpler. You just call it Imola and just be done with it. But I guess it's we go with the Tifosi. They got a Tifosi and pretty it up. So
no, that's true. But they've always done that. They used to call it. They called it like something else back in the day.
Yeah, there's been like four different different names for this one track.
And then if they don't, like, I think one time they weren't racing at Imola, so they called it the Italian Grand Prix. It was so weird. Like they've given it so many different names, and like at one point it was like the European Grand Prix. It was so weird. It was like, dude, just call it something. You know what I mean?
Stick to one name and just be done with it.
Yeah, I was like, wait, okay, Emilia, because they called it something else, man. It was, I'm trying to think. Yeah, well, whatever. But we'll jump into the race because I predicted it and I said it that Red Bull was coming, and they did exactly what they said they were going to do. They were basically going to throw blue all over an Italian red weekend.
They did. They did definitely pull that blue string out from underneath Ferrari, and I think it was definitely a wild weekend because of the weather and a lot of drivers and everything else that happened throughout the weekend. It definitely, with these new cars, nobody was ready for like a wet to dry race per se, but obviously you're front runners. But
can we go back real quick, because even in so even with qualifying, right, and we go back, qualifying was like, when I saw qualifying, I was like, man, this is going to be a really bad weekend because it's wet. A lot of cars are struggling. And you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of like, I don't know, and Formula One is always like this, but there's never been one where in a while, and I'm saying this in a while, that there's been like, in the beginning, everybody's all positive. It's like, oh, we got slick tires, and all of a sudden the wet comes, and it's like, oh, now we're changing up. It's been a while since I've seen stuff like that, or like, we laid down these lap times and oh snap, here comes the rain, and you're just like, oh man, here comes the rain. So now
it was kind of the opposite this weekend though. Like it was rainy, and then the rain stopped, and then the track started to dry out, and then with the sprint race, the sprint race was a dry sprint race. So it was kind of a weird up and down for the entire weekend. So you didn't really know how to set your car up. Do you set it up for the wet? Do you set it up for the dry? It's like, and I think a lot of teams, it caught a few teams out. Not a lot, it caught a few teams out. Like I definitely want to say Mercedes, unfortunately, it definitely caught Lewis out with this car set up for this weekend. He was definitely struggling, and he said it. You can hear the desperation in his voice when he said every weekend is a rescue. I think at this point he's kind of hit that wall, but Toto's got him, and I think Toto's definitely a good team principal, and he's kind of keeping him up and keeping up the spirits. And he went to the meeting because after free practice 2, there was like this little thing where it kind of looked like they were having a back and forth, and Toto came out and was like, nah, don't get that out of here. We weren't having a back and forth. We were just,
but social media's got to eat that up.
Of course,
it's got to be eaten up, and the press and everything else. So I mean, I think with that, it's just frustration. You know what I mean? It is. You're coming from being
up here,
and he knows, and that's what I'm saying. Lewis knows, because it's not this shit. I mean, you've been on top for so long, but you also, like his dad said, don't ever forget those days.
2009.
Back in those days. Exactly. So in 2009, he dealt with the same thing. You know what I mean? You come from being competitive, and then coming back again and winning the world championship, and then cars change up, and then your car is horrible. You know what I mean? So the only thing I can say is that Russell
He's taking
with
charge.
Russell, he's got the luck. He's got the luck because he is able to get the best out of this really bad car, but at the same time, he's able to still like keep it in the points. You know
And
what I
he's
mean?
driving.
So
You can't take anything away from what he's doing.
no.
He's definitely been driving. I
Mhm.
think for what he's been able to extrude out of this machine has been amazing. And I again, I'm happy to see kind of what the future of Mercedes kind of looks like in George Russell as for right now. And he's definitely kind of showing what he can do.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be biased, and I'm not trying to be that guy. I'm not trying to be this, but I'm just saying, look, what I've seen is that people will always have their best years in their first year of the car and blah blah. But then when it comes to that second year and that luck runs out and they start to struggle and the confidence is lost, and you'll see it. All I want to see from Russell is this season, yes, you could show us what you could do with a bad car.
Mhm.
Okay, take my hat off to you, Russell. I'm all for it, but keep it consistent. All right,
but he
that's
has
all I
been,
want to
though.
see.
And he has been, though, and that's kind of and that's kind of why I say, like, I'm kind of happy to see the way that the future is going, because prior, when he was at Williams and he was green lighting at Mercedes, every now and again, you didn't really get to see a lot of him in the car, except for that one time where he did the race and the quality, you know what I mean? So again, it's good to now see him in the seat, and I think it's very promising if he can keep this up. And once Lewis figures out what they need to do with his car, or Mercedes figures out what they need to do in general.
Breaking up. I'm losing you.
All right. Good.
Well, you're breaking up, not me, but on my end. But
okay,
no worries.
It says my internet is unstable. All right. Is it better? Still?
No, I can hear you now. You're good. Yeah.
All right. You know what, let me change this to I think I'm on my 2G. Let me change it to my 5G setting here.
Stepping the game up. Wait. Hey, we're back.
We're back.
But guess what? We're back. All right.
Technical difficulties, but it's okay. It's okay. I paid for my internet, people. So don't start that. Don't start that.
It's okay. He's reloaded.
All right. Bet. So what I was saying.
So back to what I was saying. I was telling my dad the other day when we were watching practice, because I never watched practice. I'm gonna be truthful. Like, to me, I grew up watching Formula One, and to me, practice really doesn't mean anything. The days that mean something is qualifying.
Back then it was, but now I think it's different, because now
what does practice achieve? To me, practice doesn't achieve anything. Practice was, to me, what practice was, hey, FP1 and FP2 was basically us getting to know the track, us basically getting ready for the track because qualifying is coming up. And that was really it. And they never really showed it on TV. They only showed qualifying and the race. So I never really got into it. But the other day I was watching it with my dad because I wanted to show him how unstable the Mercedes was. And I was showing him, I was like, Dad, look at it. It's like pushing if you ever get like a Hot Wheels car and you push the Hot Wheels car on the concrete and it's doing this the whole time. I was like, that's literally how the Mercedes looks right now. It's crazy. Like, that was,
yeah, it's wild, because again, all the cars have it. Some cars worse than others. Some cars have managed to be able to figure it out and get that porpoising down. So I don't know. It's really weird. And you can see even in inter-team that it's affecting the drivers differently. Yep. Because again, look, Mercedes, George Russell seems to have somewhat of a handle on this porpoising to the where he can manage the car, and whereas Lewis is again a little bit struggling a lot more with it. Ricardo struggling a lot more with the porpoising, whereas Norris is clearly got a handle on his porpoising issue. Leclerc, Sainz, So it's definitely affecting the drivers differently on how they can manage those machines. So it's really weird. And can I say this though? That I kind of feel like Christian Horner and Red Bull, they've kind of toned down their extraness this season.
Because can I say that to me, I don't think they have.
Yeah.
Because I think what it is that they know they have a competitive car, and they know that their biggest rival, who is Mercedes, is out, and now they're dealing with their new challenge. Because the only time he's gonna get like on someone's case is if they know they have a shot. Like now they know they have a shot, and then they feel like Ferrari is doing something that they don't agree with. Because like at the time, Mercedes was like pushing ingenuity, changing things up, making things look different. So they were just kind of like, I don't like that. We're gonna protest that. Who did that? How dare you introduce something like that? So at the time, and he even said it, and he even said it on, because I was wondered like why Red Bull, because I was like, man, Red Bull's hating. You know what I mean? 4-time world champion. You won 4 world championships with Sebastian Vettel, and you guys are hating hard. But like now that I've watched Survive, because I didn't watch Drive to Survive, I was kind of one of those like, I watched Formula One enough.
I still haven't watched it.
I watched it now because like one of my friends was like, oh dude, you gotta watch it. So I was like, all right, I'll watch it. But then I kind of get like the backstory of a lot of the drivers, and like I have sympathy for most of them. And I say most, but I have sympathy for most of them. But see why Christian Horner is Christian Horner, and I can see why, Toto is Toto. But he even said it in the documentary. He's like, anyway, he's like, if we're not winning, any way we could protest or any way we can, figure it out, I'm gonna do it. I was like, damn, Christian Horner, you a weasel, and I like it. I respect it. Okay.
I mean, at least he's honest with it, right?
Hey, look.
So
he said, who's your favorite driver? Anybody who's winning for my team. So basically, you know how that is.
Right. So bump.
But no, capping off with Mercedes real quick. They just give it to George Russell. George Russell's doing it. He's having that stroke of luck. Lewis is not having that stroke of luck.
No,
it is definitely not working out for him.
And definitely he's been getting some luck. So like, with those pit stops that he's luckily had been, coming in right before the safety car had come out. I mean, so again, he has gotten some stroke of lucks with those on track moments. And again, I'm not taking anything away from his driving, because he's definitely a good driver in my eyes for Mercedes. So
if the day was different, like if it wasn't such a wet race, I think Mercedes probably would have had a better race. I think
so too, because they set their car up for Inters, and he didn't have the front wing that he wanted for again for a dry race. So I think if they had the wing for a dry race for George, he would have put that car up a lot further, maybe onto the podium. Would definitely, but not taking anything away from Norris getting his second podium at Imola. So
we're jumping into McLaren now.
I mean, because it's kind of like moving forward up the grid.
Okay. I was gonna kind of go down, just go down and start my way up. But no, we can start with McLaren. McLaren take my hat to McLaren. They did what they said they wanted to do. They said they wanted to be up in the top 4. They felt like they had the machinery, and they're doing it. And pretty boy Norris is doing it. So
he's going wild in Italy tonight.
Yeah, the Italian women love them a pretty boy. So Norris is it.
But I kind of feel bad. I don't know. I feel bad and I don't, because Ricardo, he took that lunge, and I mean, well, yeah, I see he got. And it was weird because they were going into the corner. Sainz, he gave Sainz the space, but at the same time, it kind of looked like Sainz touched him, and then that's the reason why they spun. But at the same time, it could have been that Ricardo was coming into the corner and touched. So I think both of them were to the blame, but Ricardo took the bigger chunk and said, you know what, it was my fault. I'll take it. I'll eat this one. So I give him hats off to him for taking up and taking the blame on that one.
No. because I was when I rewatched it, I was like, I mean, it's like, it's tough because Ricardo was on the inside, Sainz was on the outside, and then they came, and it was like they came into that corner, and it was like it was get
It's a
talking
racing
about
incident.
and it sucks too because Sainz.
He's been having such a tough break these past couple races.
He has the competitive. It's so crazy because he has.
A
It's not like he
competitive car.
doesn't have the machinery. He does have the machinery, and he's just not. It's just bad luck, bro. Bad luck because Australia was bad luck. What is it? Two,
two
three
races in a
DNF?
row. Two races in a row.
Two races. Yeah. Wait, hold on. Bahrain, he was.
I
No,
think he.
Dubai, they
Let's
came 1
pull.
and 2.
Let's not speculate and let's get some results.
And I think he came 4th.
All right. So Bahrain, Carlos Sainz was second.
Mm-hmm.
Saudi Arabia, Carlos Sainz was third.
Yeah. Okay. So he was
Australian
3rd.
Grand
Okay.
Prix,
Yep.
DNF for Australian Grand Prix.
DNF, and then both two DNFs in a row.
Correct. So 2 DNFs in a row for him. But again,
and it's so crazy because
just been having a string of bad luck. And I think that wasn't he was definitely not a clear winner for that one. For any of these races.
You know what's so crazy? We said this like before. It's Ferrari's race to lose.
Yes.
And it was Ferrari's race to lose because all Ferrari had to do was just be consistent. Like I already knew from when Max Verstappen blew in Australia, I was like, he's coming with a vengeance.
Yeah,
he's coming with a vengeance.
They couldn't have another race where they did not finish either in the points or win that race. If they wanted to stay in this championship fight in this early part of the season, because again, they were definitely showing signs of weaknesses with the fuel pump issue, and again the other engines catching on fire, so on and so forth. So
and Leclerc just I told you Leclerc was sim racing. That's what he thought he could do. He was like, oh, okay, let me come through this corner and like just ride over the curve and I'll be good and I can catch it. And it's like
the hell out of that entire sausage curve. You saw the entire floorboard was
jump
up
bro.
On that whole entire sausage curve. So I mean, they say he went in too hot and then he tried to correct his angle to get to the DRS. But yeah, dude, I think that was a complete just mishap on his point, because there's no way that he, in his mind, that he could have thought that he could have made that over that curb, hopped the car. The car was literally off the ground. Like,
yeah, dude. If it's like you ever watch those videos of like the cars coming through the Nürburgring and they come over that one jump,
the one crest.
That's how he looked. I was like, yo, he got the whole car. Like he was going for it, and I'm like, dude, you didn't even have to go for it. And then when he did that, I was like, man,
he threw his race away. At least I thought he threw the race away. I thought he wrote the car off, but luckily he was able to kind of ease the car into and tap the wall, and didn't damage a front wing as bad as they thought he did. So that's why they had brung him in, so they could check the front wing and make sure everything was good. But
Perez being another great wingman again.
I think. I think he cemented himself as a number 2.
No, and that's the thing, he should not, because Perez, and this is what, as much as I dislike Nico Rosberg,
yes,
right?
You know how I feel.
He hated to be known as a number 2. So he fight. And the same thing, I don't know if you remember, but the same thing with Daniel Webber.
Yes.
Webber hated to know that he would be number 2 to Vettel, but he pushed.
Yes.
He pushed.
And I think that was Ricardo's thing too. He didn't want to be number 2 to Max. And that's why he kind of made those moves that he went from Red Bull to Renault, and then Renault to McLaren. So again, crazy. But
yeah, because to me, he and science is, and not science. I mean,
Perez,
Checo is so good. Like
he can be.
I mean, I loved him when he was at Air Force India. Point racing, whatever you want to call it. I mean,
the pink Mercedes.
The pink Mercedes, yeah, but I loved it. I was like, dude, he's proven, he proved, he was like, look, I mean, he does, even though his partner was a daddy's millionaire boy, but he's also riding off a millionaire, so I can't even complain. So, it's just, I don't know. I think he's better than that. I don't want him to be like Rubens Barrichello. Rubens Barrichello was a great driver, but he was known as a number two. He will always be known as a number two. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think, like I said, they've definitely have a clear team order at Red Bull, and Max is number one.
Yeah,
and Max is going to be number one because he got a contract till 28. 22 or something wild like that, and and Perez is definitely a number two until they can find somebody else to replace him.
Now I'm gonna say this, and it hurts me to say this. Hold on, let me
splash some water in your face.
Okay, so I'm gonna take my hat off to Max. All right, taking my hat off to Max. All right, to me, I never saw the hype in him, but I respected him because he came up. He proved that of all the drivers when he came in that he had the fight. Right, give him that. All right, so now I give it to him because he came in this weekend with a plan. He was like, all right, I DNF twice. All right, I'm coming here to win. All right.
But I think any driver,
I don't care whose weekend it is. I'm coming here to win. All right. He hold up. In the sprint race, when Leclerc was busting out those lap times and Max was like, all right, but you must have forgot. It's 20 laps in this race. And guess what? Those tires are going to drop off and I'm going to catch you. And exactly what he did. He played the game. He caught him, won the sprint race, which gave him the best look in the feature race. In the feature race, stepped away. Gone. Was good. Max did his thing.
Can I interject for a second here?
Okay.
So when Max has everything stars aligned in his wheelhouse, he is happy boy Max. And everything is great, and he still has the same car. But the moment that something goes wrong and his focus goes away from having to race, but also look at the car or something else other than just racing, he gets flustered. Or if there's somebody actually really challenging him other than his teammate, he gets flustered. So I think if Leclerc could have really put it on him this weekend, again, they would have fought, and I think Max would have still came out on top, but you would have seen a different Max. You would have seen, oh, it was a lovely weekend, Max. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but here's the thing. Checo did what Bottas couldn't do last year.
But see, that's Checo. But Checo's always been doing. Checo's.
But that's what I'm saying. So you're saying that Max, when everything's going well for Max is all good in that, but then he needs that pressure. But if you have your teammate, because what happened was, if you look at last year, he was bitching and complaining. There was a lot of the stuff that was going on.
He did have Perez,
but he had Perez, and if Perez couldn't mix it with Lewis, because most of the time Perez couldn't mix it with Lewis. It was just Max and Lewis out front, and everybody else was trying to figure out, like, I guess who settled in for third. You know what I mean? So, but if anyhow Perez was in front of Lewis, Lewis had to fight, and Max had an easy going until Lewis caught him. And it's basically the same thing happened this weekend. It was like Verstappen got out front, he was already good, he had the clean air, everything was going well for him, all peachy clean. But Leclerc had one job to do. He had to dispatch of Checo and catch him up, and he couldn't do it. And he couldn't do it.
Checo is he makes that car 3 wide. He does. I think he does what Alonso. He does what Alonso does, which is definitely make that car as wide as possible, and he can defend in the corners. He can defend on the straights, and he has the machine to do that. So again, that's why I think that Perez has in that team has cemented himself as that number 2 for Max, because again,
he's doing his job.
He's doing his job.
And the thing about it is that let's say the roles had changed, right? Let's say Leclerc had gotten past gotten past Checo, and Sainz is behind now. Sainz is hunting down Checo, and he's on Checo's ass, and it's a different race. It's a completely different race.
It is.
It's a completely different race. But what happened is Max had clean air. Checo's like, I got you. It's all good. And I get what you're saying. Yeah, he's already established himself as a number 2. But Leclerc, this was Ferrari's weekend. This is the Italian Grand Prix. You had the fastest car.
They were supposed to win. They were supposed to win. But again,
I still think Ferrari has I still think yes, they do have the car, but I still think Ferrari has a lot of the issues under them, and they need to get that shit sorted out. And trust me, don't get me wrong, they won the first one, they came second, they won the next one, this one they didn't place that well, but guess what? In the next race, they need to win. Leclerc or Sainz, they need to win. They need to come together. They need to come
to Miami.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's going to be in Miami. So, after the show, we'll talk. But let's just say that we have stumbled across some.
Wow! We may have more talk about after the show.
I meant to tell you, but my whole weekend has been, it's a different story for a different day. When you got a lot of family like I do, it's you already know how it is. But as we're going back to Ferrari and Red Bull did what they needed to do. They turned a red weekend into a blue weekend. They basically shut all the celebrations down. Now, if I'm Ferrari, I'm looking at the Netherlands. I'm looking at the A1 ring, and I'm saying, yo, you spoil us, then we come in for those 2 racetracks, because you can't. Because guess what? When it was Lewis's weekend at Silverstone, Lewis was like, oh,
you want to rain on my parade?
You want to try me in my home track? Hold the wall.
Go sit down. Sit down, young man. Sit down, young man.
Hold the wall. Guess what? This is my weekend.
Right? Let me show you what a veteran does, right?
I guess you forgot. I guess you forgot last year when I won the race on a flat tire. Hold the wall.
Yo, I completely forgot about that.
Hold the wall.
Finish the race on a completely flat. It was a front
you
left
remember?
tire.
And then Max was hunting him down. And like
it was definitely on some Cars type of Lightning McQueen blowing out the tires on the last lap.
And then it wasn't even him. It was like all weekend, like people were just blowing tires. But it was always like that.
Pirelli was understating their tire, the tire degradation and how long the tires can last. They were like, yeah, the tires can last 40 something laps when they were going like 32. So all these teams they were like, what the shit is going on? And that's why Max had that one that one blowout. He was for that one race he was supposed to win. And
then Zolder, they were just Red Bull was like, all right, Max, Lewis had his home, this is your home. But if I'm Ferrari, and I'm spiteful.
Yeah,
I'm spiteful. I'm ready.
But you know that they're definitely gonna win. Well, they're definitely gonna hunt for that win, I should say. But it's so the next upcoming race is Miami, the Spanish Grand Prix in Monaco. But you know, I have my interest is on those. But
can we jump into Haas real quick?
Yes.
Okay. So I am how can I say this? I am happy because I'd like to see them where they are compared to running in the back last year, but I'm kind of like skeptical because like Magnussen is driving.
Yes,
you got to give it to Magnussen. Magnussen is driving. He's whatever he's get. I'm telling you, if Magnussen can get a seat, he's hunting for a world championship.
Yeah,
I'm saying that if Magnussen can get a seat in either a Red Bull or a competitive Mercedes or in a Ferrari, he's winning a championship. There's no question that he has that pedigree. He's way better than his dad. All right. His dad is, don't get me wrong, like his dad was okay.
Yeah.
And he wasn't really that great. And yeah, he drove for Terrell and, you know, it was okay. Like you were okay, bro. But endurance racing was you. You went to endurance racing. You did your thing. You were okay in endurance racing. I think you won with Corvette and all that, but we're not getting into that. We're in Formula One. But he's really good, bro. I really think that if you put him in one of those competitive teams, like he can win a championship.
Can I say this though? I think that with them bringing him back in to replace, you know, Captain Russia, you know, he has a lot to prove, and I think he's at this point trying to say, you know what, I deserve to be in Formula One, and watch me, you know, watch me do me, and that's gonna open up the books for him for any future contracts that people want to throw at him.
Hey, I'm just gonna say the guy he replaces super salty, bro.
That's why I call him Captain. That's why I call him Captain Russia, because he's definitely over there just being extra salty. You know, on social media, just not doing himself no favors. You know, just being, you know, I mean,
I think the only way he's gonna get into Formula One is if he buys a team. And even then, he don't have money right now because they blocked up all his money.
You understand? He will have to change his nationality, race underneath a different flag.
Not gonna happen.
And again, that's also gonna have to be his daddy too. That's gonna have to do that because it's his daddy's money. So, that's not gonna happen. So
it's not gonna happen. Back to Haas. The only person who and I feel like he's just been having like a rough end is Mick Schumacher, because you know he just had the spin, and you know the car just wasn't,
which is weird because if you look at it, he placed 11th in Bahrain, and I thought like at that point, you know, they was definitely going to do something at that point, but then he had the DNF in Saudi Arabia, and then again he placed 13th in Australia. So from where they were last year to where they are now, I think they're in a better position. And I think, like I said, with Kevin Magnussen in that seat is definitely giving them another air of positivity, and they're definitely getting the most out of this machine in this year, because in previous years they didn't have the machine, and they didn't have, and everybody knew it. So that's why they were in the back running with the Williams, which is crazy because now even the Williams, they're running in 10th and 11th with Alex Albon coming in there. You know, so. It's definitely wild. Look at like I said, Albon finished 11th this race. In the Australian Grand Prix, what did Alex finish 10th? Saudi Arabian Grand Prix.
I mean, Albon, he's been mid-pack consistent. You know what I mean?
But again, from where Williams was last year, a guaranteed 22nd. 21st, or were there even that many cars on the grid that year? So
I just felt like Mick Schumacher this weekend. It was like watching them in Mario Kart. Like I feel like he just hit so many banana peels, and he was just like, yeah. And I was like, I felt so bad for him because like he's,
Bro.
you want to see the best for him, and it's just not work. I mean, it's okay at Haas. He had that bad crash, and he just, he's been mediocre compared to what Kevin
K-Mag.
Magnussen's been doing. You know what I
K-Mag.
mean?
You know what I mean? But
And I feel like if you had put like, Gasly or Ocon or someone in that Haas, it'll be a different creature. I think he'd be running up mid pack too with Magnussen. So
yeah, but you're not gonna.
I
But
don't
you,
want to diss Mick Schumacher because that's Michael Schumacher's son. You know what I mean? That's the goat's. That's the goat's son. You know what I mean? So
so what? I mean, if you're not putting up, or or if you're not living up to that hype or that name that you come with, then what's the good of having a name? You know what I mean?
it's tough
So
though because I mean, it's tough, dude. Can you imagine your dad's the goat, bro?
that's like any sports. That's like any sports great kid, like Michael Jordan's son. Come on, like that's a big shoes. Those are big shoes to fill. You know what I mean? And LeBron James kids, any sports greats kids, they have a huge shoe to fill when they go into a sport. And it's even you can kind of get away with that when you're in a racing sport because you can have good racing talent and you can develop better racing habits. Can I say that?
Yeah,
So
no, that's true.
so again, I think with having a name in the sport of motor racing is also an added benefit because you bring one sponsorship money to the teams, you bring your own personal money to the team because again of where the status of your parents are. So a lot of teams, if you look up and down this grid, guarantee you the majority of these drivers on the team have some sort of racing history in their family.
Yeah. I mean, because you gotta think about it. I think you got the Fittipaldis, the Andrettis, those are, great racing dynasty families. And then you have, Rosberg family, another great
Schumachers.
Yeah,
You know what I
Schumacher.
mean?
But I mean, I just feel like he's struggling, and I want to see better for him. Like I think this season will define his seat.
I don't think so because again, it's a silly season. So I think a lot of the teams they're looking at it like, okay, we're gonna take the results of this season with a grain of salt. Obviously not the teams that are winning and leading, fighting for the top of the front of the pack. They're hunting for championships, but I think everybody else, they're going to be looking at the drivers and taking it with a grain of salt because unless there was like a clear, oh yeah, you've been fucking up. I don't think there's going to be a real weight handed down on this season as to their future positions. Now next season, when now that they have all this data to run through from all these races, and if you're still not able to get to extract what you need out of the machine, then I think it's time away for you.
And it's so crazy. The next track is a new track, so nobody's been to it, no one's raced on it.
Nope.
And normally, when it comes to new tracks, Lewis is a beast. Lewis is a beast when it comes to new tracks. So it's gonna suck this season.
Yes.
Seeing him, knowing he's good on new tracks, but seeing him kind of like struggle, because that, to me, that's gonna be rough, man.
It's gonna be rough. I mean, honestly, this can I be this guy right here? It's been a rough season for me this season, seeing where Mercedes is, for being a Mercedes fan, and knowing the struggles that they're going through. But at the same time, I'm looking at it like there's a lot of racing still to come. So things are going to get straightened out eventually. When is that going to happen? Don't know. I hope it's not like July before we figure stuff out. I want to, hopefully we can get some stuff figured out really soon. But again, by that time, everybody else should have the development as well. Because looking it's just hard. It's just hard to see you, your boy, just have those
No, I
down
hear you.
moments.
It's yeah, and for me, I mean, this is not my first rodeo, you know what I mean? So
Neither mine either.
I watched all the silly. You want to talk about heartbroken, bro? Just to know he won that championship and just to see him like when what you got to understand, and like 2008 when he won that championship, I think everybody in my house like yelled and screamed, bro. Like
Yeah,
it was crazy because like that's just we were so happy. So like the next season, just watching him and it's just a downcline. I was like, what is going on? Like
it hurt.
what is McLaren doing? And like McLaren has, if anybody who knows McLaren and their history, like they McLaren will be on top and then they'll be down at the bottom, and then they'll come back again, and then it'll be right down on the bottom.
Yep.
So to me, like me watching them, because I remember like back before Lewis came onto the team, they had that was the most horrible McLaren ever, bro. And like he came into the team, did a good job with them, won a championship, and then right back down into the decline. And then slowly but surely they came up, and then he competed with, I think it was his last season, the last season that he competed with McLaren. It was him, Vettel,
Alonso.
and Alonso was fighting for the championship, and then the McLaren gave out, and then that's when that day when the McLaren gave out, that's when Lewis was like, "All right, I'm switching teams. I think I'm ready to go." And then Lauda was like, "Hey, yo, he's ready.
My
Catch
guy.
him up." What about Jensen Button? Nah,
No, 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 no,
get that,
no, 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 no.
get that. Yeah,
Button who? No.
yeah, no, yeah, no.
But I mean, let's get back
Mhm.
for the biscuit, back for the future there.
Yeah, I know, but so because you know me, I jump back into the history all the time. But like, but for me, like it for me, if I'm Lewis, I'm like, all right, we're already 4 races in. I already got one podium. I got a couple top tens. All right, I will write this weekend off. We're still trying to figure out the car. Now, if I'm him, if I'm Lewis, push everything aside, concentrate on the garage. What do we need to do? What do we need to change? And it's not like before where you'd be in the garage till like 3, 4 in the morning and you're trying to figure out the car and you're able to
Yeah, no,
test
because
and
everything is
yeah, everything
automated
has
now.
changed. And you want me to tell you something? I think, and I say this, I think that they might bring back testing again. Not this year, maybe not next year, but in the pipeline, you're going to start seeing teams testing again. And then they're going to have their facility testing, and then they're going to have their test day testing. Watch, they're going to bring back because they're bringing back a lot of things, and then they're letting go of things, and they're like, oh, we're trying to get the money. It's like, okay, Formula One, you got the money, and the teams right now, some of them are still kind of good. A lot of them are owned by Daddy Warbucks millionaires. A lot of them, they have the spot. I think the only team I can say that's probably still trying to figure things out is Williams. Can I say that? And Haas. Haas had a big money millionaire, Daddy Warbucks backing them, but I think now they got with them kind of being in the top 10 and getting the points and be close to podiums and stuff like that, you'll start to see sponsors come out of the woodworks for them. But yeah, you're gonna start seeing money's coming. This is one thing that I'm noticing now, money's coming. But the only thing that I fear with Formula One is we've seen the money times and I've seen the low times. So
I mean, we've seen the cigarette times. Yes, we've all seen the cigarette times.
dude, back in 2000, when like every team was
Marlboro,
there, dude.
Camel.
It was it was there, bro. Back in 2000, it was like BMW. They had a team called Arrows. Like, come on, like I was like they had all these different teams, bro, and like teams branched off of teams, and I was like, yo, it was like there's so many teams,
because
and then
stupid money in the sport. Like it was like, oh, you get a car, you get a car, oh, you get a car too.
Even I remember there was one team called Minardi. I don't know if you remember Minardi. Yes. Minardi was the king of the back.
Yes.
Like, and they had a cult following of like people who would travel around the world just to support Minardi. Like people would have Minardi clothes. Ferrari sponsored their motors. It was
people
so weird.
still
like,
wear Wims.
It was so weird. But guess what?
People were still wearing Williams last year. People were still decked out in Haas hats and stuff last year. So it's not hard to find, a cult following for your team if you're racing for a sport, because again, people like drivers, people like teams, and for different reasons. So yeah. But what do we got going on here? Like I said, back to Emilia Grand Prix. Like I said, I think up and down is good as you. We had 18 cars finished. Daniel Ricciardo finishing
Can we also take our hat off to Yuki Tsunoda?
Yeah,
because he had a really good race this weekend. Like he was in it to win it, bro.
I think he came out and he drove. He had a good fight with Sebastian for a while there. And can I say this again too? Lotus. Yeah, they definitely Aston Martin. Lotus. Yeah, they got what I call them Lotus, but Aston Martin.
Lotus. You're talking about Lotus. Right? Lotus was Renault, dude.
Yeah, way back.
Renault bought them out. And
Aston
like
Martin, man.
You're talking about
Aston Martin. They've definitely showed up this weekend from previous weekends. Actually finishing in some points. I think this is their first point scoring weekend.
Yeah, except for Vettel. Vettel fell off like so badly, bro. He was up there, and then like slowly but surely he just kind of
the car settled into where its true position was going to be, because that Aston Martin is not a fourth or fifth car. It's a 8th to 10th. It can be 8th to 10th car, and they show that. Again, I get you between Kevin Magnussen and Yuki Tsunoda and Lance Stroll, they all were fighting for those last little bit of points. And I think again, Yuki was like, you know what, I am not finishing 10th this race. I'm gonna actually put my car up and show that I can actually drive this thing. And again, they have a Red Bull power unit. So he was just definitely exuding the most out of that. And Bottas was taking the hell out of that Ferrari. He was trying to fight George for a while there. And I thought he was going to catch them up on those last couple races, laps, I should say. But again, hat off to George for holding his own and keeping Bottas behind him for those little bits.
But Bottas is Bottas, like we said before, Bottas was never a bad driver.
No,
he was just he wasn't a bad driver. He just wasn't a good teammate. Let's just say that. Like, he's not a bad driver. Like, he, in his eyes, he's a number one driver. For him to be a number two driver, it just wasn't working for him. And in his head, he was like, I'm not going to be a number two driver. Don't ask me to block. Don't ask me to do this. It's not my job. My job is to drive. And that's what everybody, and that's why you always get a lot of biased people online. They're like, oh, how come Mercedes didn't just let him drive? But I'm like, guys, this is a team
they let sport. Him drive.
Like, they'll let him drive. But if we're fighting for a championship, you guys wouldn't have liked Ferrari back in the days. I tell you that for a fact. You guys are like, oh, let him drive. I'm like, my guys, if you guys are over here talking about let him drive,
they were clear team orders.
Hated Ferrari back in the day. First of all, Ferrari was like, yo, Barrichello,
let him pass.
Let him through. We're doing this for the championship. And I remember they sat there on the pit wall, and me and my dad sat there. My dad was like, these motherfuckers, bro. Like, how dare they? I was like, yeah, Dad. He was like, yeah. It was like, yo. It was like, yo, let him through. It's for the championship.
Exactly.
And I'm like,
and Red Bull's done that too. So again, they would definitely. You see, and Mercedes, they made that call. They tried to do that call with Rosberg, and Lewis was like, yeah, let him come get this. I'm not going to give it to him.
Let him come get it. And if he wants it, he can get it when he passes.
Right?
Yeah. No. First of all, I tell people this all the time. You haven't watched racing. You guys are new to this stuff, because
some of y'all are new.
Back in the days when Ferrari, I think they were going at it with I think it was BMW. They were going at it with BMW, and they were like, yo, Massa, let him pass. And
let him pass.
They had stopped team orders at like that. After that, they like FIA was like, no more.
No team orders over the radio.
So then Ferrari started making like special words,
making up some weird stuff. It was like, fuel mode 7,
yeah. Red. Okay, all right. Yeah, I already know what that means. Oh,
all
I
right.
already know what that means. Yeah, come on, guys.
Exactly. Like so again, Ferrari is definitely the team that always defies and bucks the system. And sometimes they do it openly, and sometimes they do it enough to the point where till they get caught. 2019. But yeah, we're not gonna get into that.
For me, like I said, I like I said, Alfa Romeo had a good weekend. Had a good weekend for Bottas. Now, Zhao didn't really have a good weekend. Let me see what I can go through. Because that was that. Who else did we talk about? We spoke about Williams. Williams had an okay weekend. Latifi was okay. Latifi was basically where he loves being.
Here's Gasly. He was talking real spicy in his interview. It was like, oh yeah, it was not that hard to keep Lewis behind him.
You talking about Gasly?
Yes.
First of all, Gasly's always going to talk shit because Gasly's going to talk shit because he's in a Red Bull. So he has to please his bosses because he wants to be in the top team. That's one.
Which he wants Checo's seat.
I saw something online when they were saying, "Oh, he needs to have a seat. Red Bull needs to give him a shot for a seat." I'm like, "Yo, look, you don't have Checo money.
Nah.
So you ain't getting that seat.
Nah.
I don't care how competitive you are. Checo got the second richest man in the world backing him.
No.
Remember that.
Exactly. No.
Gasly, Gasly, you only saying that because guess what? You're riding for Red Bull, and okay, whatever. But until you leave that team, holla at me.
Exactly.
And at the end of the day, how many championships have you won? Sorry.
You're
on to the next subject. It's not hard to keep him behind. Yeah, it's not hard keeping him behind because guess what? He doesn't have a competitive car. But had that, how come you wasn't saying that when the party motor was going on in Brazil?
Smacking
my point.
Excuse getting lapped, bro. Right?
Bye. Thank you. On to the next point. It ain't hard because last time I checked in Brazil, he got passed, right?
Mm-hmm. Smacking.
Okay. All right.
So again,
on to the next. So we went through was that
Gasly, Albon, Lewis.
Ricardo had a horrible race.
It
just didn't work out for him. Well, we already discussed that. And yeah, I mean, Alonso, bro.
Yeah. His whole right side pod.
Did you see that? It was just ripped off, dude. It looked
like it was a really real tough weekend for him. So and he came in, it was like, is it bad? They were like, yeah. How bad is it? Really bad. like seriously, like half your car is still on track. So we're gonna just need to park it. You know what I mean? But hey, what can you say? Like I said, just gotta some shit on shitty luck, man.
No, but if we're gonna sum up the weekend, because we can pretty much sum up the weekend, it was a good race, very competitive. The storylines to me were all good. I mean, if you're a Mercedes fan, you're kind of disappointed, but at the same time, you're kind of
understanding of what's going on.
Exactly. And I don't want to say happy, you're understanding. It was just a perfect word you said. It's understanding because you see where the car could be, where you see because George Russell had the luck, but then you also see the struggles of what Lewis Hamilton had to deal with.
So you're getting the highs and lows of the race in one race, you know what I mean? So it's kind of crazy.
And it's not like Lewis is like a fallen off champion.
Oh no, not at all. He's not a disgraced champion at all. He's not a person that has just fallen off the wagon at all. This package is just not, it's just hard to get everything out of this package. And for him, again, so we're not making excuses, not being biased, but definitely trying to be biased at the same time. But again, when they figure this out, and even one of the announcers during the race said, this is the scary part, because once Mercedes figures out what's going on with the car and Lewis gets to exert everything out they can at their car, they are going to be a problem.
Problem is not even the word, because now right now, what they've just done is they're throwing fuel. They're throwing all this wood into Lewis's fire right now. And now because all he wants to do
is just get a car that can drive.
And made it even worse that he got lapped by his
by Verstappen. That right there
that hurts.
That hurts. And I think, again, with what's going on, I think they're going to just be like, when we get a car to actually be able to fucking run, it's going to be problems. But keeping my hopes high. You know what I mean? Gotta be faithful through the bad times. Definitely,
if we're going through silly season rules, 2 years.
2 years. No.
And I'm going with silly season rules because you got to think about it. McLaren, when they struggled the year that after they won the championship, and then the next year they still kind of struggled, and then I think Mercedes was there too, and they were still on like trying to figure out like what they were going to do, and it was a struggle. If I'm not mistaken, I think Mercedes came in like the year.
Mercedes came in with the into the turbo hybrid era. That first year struggle. Second year came in, was really like, okay, we figured the shit out. Now let's fucking run and play.
Yeah, because the first year they came in, because I'm thinking the year that Lewis won, and then the year after that, then I think because it was Vettel's first championship, Schumacher ran, and then his fourth championship, Lewis came in to the team. So it was just
about 2 or 3 seasons. Yeah.
So I'm going 2. So, but if they get it sorted out this year, next year is going to be.
You got to think about it too. Back then, there were a lot less races.
That is true.
So there's a lot more time to figure stuff out now within the season, be it late in the season, being it, towards the middle, whatever the case may be. But hey, again, it's gonna happen, and I think when it happens, it's gonna be a fight, a 3-way fight between Red Bull and Ferrari. So moving on. So what do we have for are we giving our flat tire for the race?
Oh, flat tire for the race. Gosh. Flat tire for the race for me, Carlos Sainz.
You got taken out.
Don't care. You got a competitive package. You shouldn't be putting it. I'm sorry, bro. He's my flat tire of the race. He's my flat tire of the race because you've had a competitive car. You see what your teammates doing. You bollocks it up in Australia, and this weekend you basically bollocks it up again because you easily could have just let Ricardo through, ride it, and then you could have just. And you know what? I can't say that because when you're racing, because even in sim racing, it's the same thing. It's like I got the corner, and then,
I got the corner.
You end up,
and they're both in the ditch. So again, I think.
But to me,
I'll give it to you. You can call your flat tires as you want to call your flat tires. So, but I think for me, it's going to be the other Ferrari. Leclerc. Like, bro, you had a third. You could have passed Norris, and you could have had a third. But
no, he was ahead of Norris. He was ahead of Norris. He was he lost the place.
Oh, excuse me. I mean, he was exactly.
He could have had Checo.
My bad. Or at least came close to really giving him a good fight for the ending of the race. And you decided that you wanted to eat a whole sausage in the middle of the race. Like that's not how you do it. So I get that you lost focus or whatever the case may be, but that's my flat tire for the day.
because if you look at it, Perez had an issue in the corner like a couple like before that, because you remember he like went through, like everybody was like, oh, I'm just gonna drive through the grass, you know what I mean? But Leclerc was like, yo, I'm coming. Bow, bow.
Like, you know what I
yo,
mean?
what is going on?
Like he literally, the car was a good foot off the ground, bro. I kid you not. And it did a 360 in the air once. Like, yo, what was you thinking, my guy? What was he thinking?
He thought he was in a rally car. That's what it was. So I guess we're gonna say the flat tire of the race, our flat tires of the race was Ferrari. Yeah, because Ferrari, this was their weekend. I'm sorry, this was Ferrari's weekend. Like if
it was your home Grand Prix.
Let's just say this. I'm not even gonna say the flat tire of the race, but flat tire of the weekend was the Ferrari team. And the reason why I say that is because this is home. Yes, you have two homes. You have Imola and you have here. Anything in Italy is home. And you didn't even put yourself on a podium. Like, oh man, dude, I'm sorry. That's Monza. That's like Mercedes going to Germany and them not even, and that happened to Mercedes. Like they went to Germany and they didn't even win. They all I think no, that was Hockenheim, because Lewis had spun, and then Bottas was going to win the race, and then Bottas ended up in the wall, and that was like their special weekend. And I would have given flat tire of
and I think they had like all the team bosses there, and everybody came
everything.
down.
Mm-hmm. But they ended up winning the championship, which ended up playing out for them. But for this weekend, I have to say Sainz, and then I'm gonna have to say Leclerc, because Ferrari just didn't do it.
Yeah, there was definitely they were definitely supposed to come out and put a stamp on this weekend and solidify themselves in their championship fight. But again, they both between the entire weekend flop. As and as painful as it is going to be for me to give my driver of the day.
I got my driver of the day.
I'm gonna say Max. I mean, again, for what
too easy, bro. That's too easy. Too easy. Easy. Like you said before, he had it all easy. If I'm gonna say my driver of the race, it's gonna be Norris, bro. Pretty boy Norris. You gotta give it to Norris, bro.
Pretty boy Floyd.
You gotta give it to Norris because Norris stayed consistent. He had all that bullshit he had to deal with, and then because of Leclerc wanting to be, Mario Kart 8, he lost it and decided to,
eat the curve.
So guess what? Norris played it. He played consistent. He did what he had to do. Yeah. He basically took McLaren from being a back of the pack car to a third place on the podium. Can't beat that.
Can't beat that at all. And to be his second podium at Imola, that's definitely a good thing for him. And this, again, he's future Formula One, and between him, it's crazy. If you look at it, Max, Norris, Russell, that's all future Formula One, and they're literally running in front of the grid.
Can I? Oh man, I was gonna bring up one more guy too, but
go ahead,
because it was gonna be, because I was gonna say Norris. No, I'm gonna stick with Norris. Because I think Bottas had a good race to a certain point, but then after that, he just never really. If he had passed Russell, I would have gave him my driver. I would have gave him the driver of the weekend because he did what he did, but he
would have, and he would have had that little smirk on his face.
Exactly.
He
exactly. Had that little... But like you, if he had passed Mercedes, I'd been like, then I'd be like, yo, you driver of the race, because guess what? You showed your old team. Guess what? Hey, you let go of me for this guy and a world champion. Guess what? I'm here.
Right. Dun 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 dun. Bum. All right.
But no, I'm gonna give mine to Norris. But who you got?
Again, I'm just looking down the grid because everybody really ran a good race as far as who did what, and I can't disagree with you with saying that Norris definitely put his car in a good position. George Russell for damage limitation, I think that was good. I think if I want to not give it to Max for having an easy race, I'll give it to George for again giving himself, taking that car for what it is and consistently being able to take advantage of his luck, like you said, and put that car up into points. He's been fourth, fifth, third, I think once. So again, George.
Now, to our biased fans, I'm just gonna say this: I'm not hating on Red Bull. All right.
No,
I told you already. I took my hat off to Max Verstappen because he did what he needed to do, right? And I would have given him driver of the weekend, but like I said, it was too like I would have given him driver of the race, but to me, I mean, yes, he was a driver of the weekend. He won the sprint race and he won the feature race, but in the feature race, he really didn't have anything to match him. Like, I mean, not even Perez was up there hunting him. You know what I mean? Like
no, Perez was giving him space.
Like, I'm cool
Perez
here.
Was backing up everybody else.
Yeah, Perez is like, I'm cool here because because for me, I would have given it to Max only if Perez was on him. Like if Perez was like, fuck this shit, I'm not a second driver. I'm coming for that first. You know what I mean? And I'm going for it. And I'm setting perfect lap time because Max, at the end of the day, he won the sprint race. He ended up winning the race. And because Leclerc crashed, he ended up getting the fastest lap. So basically you have to give him the hat trick. He won the hat trick. So I mean,
for the race.
Yes, he would be. And I'm only saying this because most people wouldn't explain. I'm explaining, yes, he would be, but he had the easy weekend out of everybody else. Like, to me, if driver of the weekend, you fought for everything. Like, you fought tooth and nail. Like, it was already competitive in this. It was good. No, you fought it. To me, Max just had it easy. Like, he fought in the sprint race for 10 laps because he knew that Leclerc's tires were going to drop off soon anyway.
Yep.
So
bump.
Yep.
So all right. So what do we got? Predictions for Miami?
I think we'll have a follow-up podcast for that, but Miami is Ferrari country, bro. People don't understand. If there's one thing about Miami is all about the Ferraris and the Lambos and the McLarens. So it's Ferrari country. So
we'll see. But
it's gonna be Ferrari winning that, and I feel like you're gonna see Mercedes have a callback. Now, hear me out. Florida is Florida, and we all know what happens at a certain time in Florida. At 3:00. At 4:00.
I don't think it's that time of year though. It's not that time of year.
I'm just saying it's springtime in Florida, so it always rains.
Yes, but I think when we get into the later part of the year, that's when it rains consistently like clockwork. I think this time of year we can expect overcast. And if anything, some really hot weather. I think it's going to be hot. If anything, it should be hot. Matter of fact, you can check the forecast. But you know what? Say that for another pod.
Say that for another pod. But I think it's going to be my predictions for the next race. We'll bring it up in the next pod. But I think Ferrari's going to come back with a vengeance. I feel like hot track. It's going to be a hot weekend. It's Miami. It's going to be a lot of stuff going on. Festival weekends. Yeah, it's going to be a lot. And you might see us out there doing some fun and festivities. Maybe not at the race, but we'll be doing some fun and festivities. So just keep on the lookout.
Yep. All right, man. Well, if you are watching this podcast, understand one of two things. We may be biased, but at the same time, we're trying not to be biased. We're keeping it real, keeping it funky. We're always going to keep it 100 with you. So, love it or hate it.
Hey, like we always say, don't be biased.
You watching the wrong podcast. Stop it.
Let's do it. Have a good night, guys.
Peace.